Welcome to the video. You saw the title. We're going to walk through some parts of The Shining. We're going to explain some plot points, some filmmaking techniques, and dive into why it's so scary. Alright, let's get right into the video. The film opens with Jack arriving at the hotel and learning a little bit about the job. Now this scene is pretty important. Firstly, it introduces the plot and the main character, Jack Torrance. Additionally, it utilizes an extremely important filmmaking technique. This technique is make the audience relate to the main characters. This is done in a couple ways in this scene. Number one, we literally arrive at the hotel alongside Jack. We're walking in his shoes. Jack drives to the hotel, we drive to the hotel. Jack walks in, we walk in. Jack sits down, we sit down. The second way we relate to Jack, besides walking in his shoes, is we learn as he does. When the two general managers of the hotel spring the hotel's gory past onto Jack, they spring that information onto us too. So, when Jack is sarcastic and annoyed with these guys,
I also understand why your people in Denver left it for you to tell me.
we totally relate to him. These guys are annoying and scummy for not telling him about this sooner. You're telling me you made me drive all the way up here, and now you're gonna tell me about this horrible thing that happened? You guys blow. We're already on Jack's side. We're thinking the same thoughts as him. We're doing the same motions as him. Even further, you know how Jim from The Office does his little look at the camera whenever we're supposed to relate to him? Jack does a similar version of this. Look at this. Throughout this scene, Jack sneaks little mini glimpses right at the camera. Subconsciously, he's looking at you doing the Jim thing. He's like, are these guys serious? Are you guys hearing this too? This is ridiculous. And we're like, yeah, this is ridiculous. Alright, moving on. Not only does this scene help us relate to our main character Jack, but it also informs us about the plot. We learn that Jack is going to become the winter caretaker of the Overlook Hotel, and he's going to bring his family to be isolated up here with him. Not only do we learn about the plot, but we also learn about our characters, specifically Jack Torrance here. Not only do we learn about Jack's personality, we also learn about his place in life. He's at a very unstable point in his life. He just quit his school teaching career to try to become a writer full-time. So clearly Jack is antisocial and not in the most stable of life situations right now. But he seems like a pretty normal, relatable guy otherwise. Okay, let's wrap up scene 1. Scene 1 introduces us to the story and uses filmmaking techniques to make us relate to our main character, Jack Torrance. Great job, movie. Let's move on. Scene 2 introduces more elements of the story and makes us relate to our two other main characters, who are the rest of Jack's family. His wife Wendy and his son Danny. We see Danny talking to his imaginary friend, who, we quickly learn, is very real and very powerful. The imaginary friend, named Tony, informs the viewer and Danny that Jack is about to call Wendy and tell her that he got the job. And sure enough, this is exactly what happens.
Hi, babe.
Hi, hon. Sounds like you got the job?
Right.
So boom! We now know that there is some very real supernatural stuff going on in this story, and Danny's imaginary friend Tony is legit, and the things he says should be taken seriously. So, when Tony immediately tells Danny that the Overlook Hotel is going to be very bad news, we know that he's probably right, and we take him seriously right away. Tony says to Danny that he doesn't want to go to the hotel. And additionally, besides just telling Danny he doesn't want to go, he gives Danny a vision, which is the manifestation of the horror that awaits him at the hotel. And of course, because we have to relate to our main characters, we have to see what they see and feel what they feel, we share in this vision with Danny. This vision happens to be so scary that Danny ends up having a seizure and passing out. Scene 2 is completed. Once again, filmmaking techniques are employed to make us relate to our characters and learn things about the world, characters, and plot. Alright, let's move on. There is not much to talk about in the next scene. The main purpose of this scene is to introduce more plot points and make us relate to our final main character, Jack's wife Wendy. The main thing I want to point out in this scene is a piece of information that gets revealed. Alright, let's get into it. So Wendy called the doctor to check on Danny after the seizure. They check on Danny and he's fine. Then, while talking to the doctor, Wendy informs her, and the audience of course, that Jack got drunk one night and accidentally hurt Danny.
On this particular occasion, my husband just used too much strength and he injured Danny's arm.
And because of this, Jack has sworn off booze, and it has been 5 months since Jack has had a drop of alcohol. This informs the audience of two things. Jack is at an even more volatile situation in his life than we previously knew, and Wendy is completely unaware. The audience should know that 5 months is not that long to be sober for, so a relapse is entirely possible, but Wendy does not seem to grant the idea of a relapse any merit. So, at this point in the movie, the audience knows that the entire family is about to move into a definitely evil hotel where they'll be completely isolated. Jack is at a very unstable point in his life. Wendy is completely unaware of the situation, and Danny is completely powerless. If you are not scared by now, you are not paying attention. Alright, let's move on. The next couple scenes in the story I don't really want to get into. Basically what happens is Jack and his family arrive at the Overlook Hotel and settle in for the winter. Alright, let's recap. At this point in the story, we the audience know that Jack is an unstable but relatable family man. Wendy is a sweet but clueless wife, and Danny is an innocent kid who is privy to the supernatural forces at play. And the family has just moved into a very evil and supernatural hotel. Alright, I want to skip some more scenes. Basically what happens in these scenes is the family starts to live in the hotel, and the hotel's influence on them grows stronger day by day. It starts to deteriorate Jack's mental state and scare the living poop out of Danny. All of this builds until the hotel is finally ready to make its move. Alright, let's get into it. As Wendy completes some duties and Jack sleeps at his typewriter, the hotel lures Danny into room 327, a room where the hotel is very powerful. In this room, it physically attacks Danny. Then, Danny, traumatized and injured, heads downstairs, where Wendy has just discovered Jack having a bad dream. Wendy sees her son Danny has been injured and immediately accuses Jack, which does make sense. There is literally no one else around for hundreds of miles, and Jack has a history of hurting Danny. The only issue is that Jack is actually totally innocent. It was the hotel. But Wendy obviously doesn't know this and runs away with Danny. So, due to the hotel's influence, Jack's family has just unjustly turned against him, and his mental state is at an all-time low. This is all part of the hotel's plan. And, in his sorrow, Jack stumbles his way right up to a seat at the bar. Now that the hotel has created the perfect situation and worn Jack down so much, it is the perfect time for the hotel to make its move on him. It stands in front of Jack as a bartender and offers him a drink. This is one of the most important moments in the movie. It is the character-defining moment for Jack. Jack has the power to say no. The hotel does not force Jack to have a drink. It simply pours the glass and places it in front of him. It's Jack who, after being beaten down, picks it up and breaks his sobriety. He has several glasses of whiskey. Jack breaks his commitment to himself. He has passed the hotel's first test. The second test comes momentarily. Wendy appears and tells Jack that there is a woman who attacked Danny in room 237, and he needs to go investigate it. Jack heads to the room where the hotel presents him with the second test. Jack has already shown that he will break his commitment to himself, the commitment of sobriety. But now, the hotel needs to see if Jack will break his commitment to his family. Instead of offering a drink to Jack, it offers him a naked, beautiful woman. The woman approaches but does not touch Jack. It's Jack who chooses to touch her first. The hotel has won. The hotel has successfully seduced Jack against himself and his own family. This is what makes the movie so scary. Jack is an ordinary, kind of charming, and relatable guy who encounters a battle with an evil entity and loses. He's a normal guy who makes the wrong choices and pays the ultimate price for it. We can see ourselves in this character, who does, later on in the movie, the worst things imaginable. That is truly terrifying. Anyway, So Jack lets his family down by failing both tests and letting himself fall into the arms of the hotel. But he tries to hide this and simply goes back to his family and tries to reconcile the situation. However, this is when Wendy delivers the final blow to separate herself and Danny from Jack. She asks for the family to leave the hotel. No, Jack cannot let that happen. He has just committed himself to this hotel by accepting the drink and the woman. And now Wendy wants to leave. Absolutely not. This request pushes Jack over the edge. Raging, he leaves the family and heads back downstairs for another drink with his new friend, the Overlook Hotel. Now that the hotel has won Jack over, it has a long conversation with him and finally tells him exactly what he needs to do to feel better. He needs to correct his family, aka unalive them. Now, all the pieces are set for the third act. Jack is going to try to unalive his family, and Wendy and Danny are going to try to escape. Alright, that's all I have to say about The Shining. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit like, it really helps. Secondly, if you liked the video, consider hitting subscribe, because I'm going to post on this channel videos just like this one. It's just going to be me talking about some thoughts about some really awesome movies that I love. So, if you're into that, hit subscribe. Alright. This ends the video. Get out there and be a good person today.